By mid-afternoon, her phone buzzed with a video call from her parents. Vine hesitated, staring at the screen like it was a ticking bomb. Her mother's smiling face appeared in the preview window. Her father already seated beside her with his glasses perched on his nose. "Come on," Jungkook said from the sofa, munching on a laddu. "Answer it, they will only keep calling if you don't." Vine sighed, smoothing her hair nervously before taking the call. "Daughter," her mother beamed, "we were just thinking about you. How are you? How is my little grandson?" "Hi, Grandma," he shouted, darting into frame. "Guess what? Mommy and Daddy exercised last night." Vine's blood turned to ice. Jungkook immediately stuffed his fist into his mouth to stifle a laugh, his shoulders shaking. Her parents blinked. "Exercise?" her mother repeated. "Yes," Ryan said proudly, climbing onto the sofa so his face filled the screen. "It was loud, very loud. Mommy was tired, but Daddy said it was fun, and I couldn't sleep." Vine wanted the earth to split open and swallow her own. "Ryan," she yelled, pulling him down from the camera's view. "Sweetheart, why don't you show Grandma your Lego tower instead?" "But I want to tell them about the exercise." "Nope," she said quickly, shoving a toy car into his hand. "Go on, show them your racetrack." Ryan frowned but trottled off obediently, leaving Vine's parents staring at her expectantly. "Vine," her mother said slowly, her brows knitting, "what kind of exercise are you two doing?" Vine's cheeks flamed. "Stretching, just stretching before bed, for health." "Ah," her father said with a knowing nod. Yes, very important. Even we do yoga sometimes before sleep." Vine exhaled in relief until she caught a sight of Jungkook behind the phone, doubled over in silent laughter, mouthing the word "stretching." "Really?" She narrowed her eyes at him, silently promising revenge. The call continued with safer topics: school admissions, Ryan's eating habits, her mother's new saree. But Vine couldn't shake the lingering mortification, especially with Jungkook grinning like the cat who got the cream every time their eyes met. When the call finally ended, she collapsed against the back of the sofa, covering her face with a cushion. "I hate you," she muttered into the fabric. Jungkook plopped down beside her, plucking the cushion away. "You love me," he said smugly, popping another lead into his mouth. "I'm serious, Jungkook," she groaned. "If he brings this up in front of anyone else, I swear I will." "You will what?" he teased, leaning closer. "Punish me? Don't make promises you can't keep." Her jaw dropped. "You are incorrigible, and you find it irresistible," he murmured, brushing his lips against her ear. Her stomach flipped, and she shoved him away half-heartedly. "Not here. Ryan's right there." Ryan thankfully was too busy zooming his cars across the floor to notice anything. Jungkook only smirked, clearly enjoying how easily she could fluster her. Later that evening, Vine tried to get some quiet time to herself. She curled up on the balcony with a book, the evening breeze tugging at her hair. Jungkook joined her uninvited, balancing two mugs of steaming chai. "Peace offering," he said, handing her one. She accepted it with a sigh. "You are lucky I love tea more than I hate you right now." "Progress," he said with a grin, settling beside her. For a few blissful moments they sipped in silence, the golden sunset painting the sky. Then Jungkook leaned over, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "So, should I tell your parents about the advanced exercises we have been practicing? I think they would be impressed." Why nearly spilled her tea. "Don't you dare." He chuckled, eyes twinkling. "Relax, I won't. But admit it, this is fun." She turned to glare at him. Fun? You call being humiliated in front of my parents fun? He shrugged, smiling. It's memorable. These are the stories we will laugh about when we are old and grey. She pressed her lips together, fighting a smile, cursed him. He always knew how to twist her irritation into reluctant amusement. You are impossible, she muttered again. He brushed his shoulder against hers, warmth seeping into her skin. And you wouldn't have me any other way. For a moment the teasing melted into something softer. His eyes lingered on her, full of affection, and her heart squeezed. Maybe he was right. Maybe one day they really would laugh about all this. But not today. Today she was still plotting her revenge. Dinner was mercifully uneventful. Ryan polished off his curry and rice while narrating an elaborate dinosaur adventure, leaving no room for more questions about the exercise. Wine began to relax, convinced they had survived the worst of the day. But bedtime loomed, and with bedtime came danger. Mummy, he said as she tucked him in, his little dinosaur blanket pulled snug under his chin. Can you promise me something? Wine said, brushing his hair gently off his forehead. Of course, sweetheart. What is it? Promise you and Daddy won't do the noisy exercise again tonight. He said seriously, because I really need to sleep. Tomorrow I'm going to beat Nasha at running in school. Wine froze, her hand mid-pat on his blanket. Behind her, Jungkook leaned casually against the doorway, arms folded and a maddening grin tugging at his lips. Don't worry, champ, he said solemnly, through his eyes sparkled with mischief. We will keep the fitness routine very quiet. Ryan narrowed his eyes suspiciously. Very quiet? Silent, he assured him, beating back a laugh. Wine shot him a murderous glare over her shoulder, slightly mouthing stop it. Satisfied, Ryan snuggled into his pillow, clutching a stuffed elephant. Good, because last night was like boom, boom, boom. I thought maybe a monster came. Wine buried her face in her hands. Jungkook coughed violently into his fist, his shoulders shaking. No monsters, she said firmly, kissing her son's forehead. Just Daddy being silly. Ryan giggled. Yes, Daddy makes funny noises. Jungkook raised his brows in mock defense. Excuse me, I do not. Yes, you do, he said sleepily. Like this. He scrunched his face and let out a loud ah before dissolving into giggles. Wine thought she might die of embarrassment right there on the spot. Jungkook was doubled over the doorway, tears streaming down his face in laughter. Good night, sweetheart, Wine said quickly, tugging the blanket up to Ryan's chin and turning off the bedside lamp. Sleep well. Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy, Ryan mumbled, already drifting off. The moment the door clicked shut behind them, Wine spurned on Jungkook, smacking his arm. This is all your fault, she hissed. My fault? He said, still laughing. You were the one. She slapped her hand over his mouth. Not another word. Do you really want to sleep on the couch? His eyes glimmered with mischief above her hand. Then deliberately he kissed her palm again. Wine yanked her hand back, glaring, though her lips betrayed her with the beginnings of a smile. You are being cringy, and you love every moment of it, am I right? He whispered, his voice low and teasing. Her heart skipped. Don't start, but he already did. His arm slipped around her waist, pulling her closer in the dimly lit hallway. You know, he murmured against her hair, I think our boy has a point. Maybe we should relocate our workouts. She gasped, showing lightly at his chest. Jungkook, What? His grin was fake. The living room has more space and less risk of waking a little ears. Her face burned. Can you stop talking about it over and over again? You are being insufferable. He leaned in, his breath warm against her cheek. But you want it to be that way, right, sweetheart? Despite herself, she smiled, her irritation melting under the heat of his gaze. Her arms slipped around his neck almost without thinking. Maybe, she admitted softly. His lips brushed hers in a tender kiss, slow and lingering. For a moment, the chaos of the day, the embarrassing questions, the teasing, the laughter all faded, leaving only the quiet thrum of affection between them. When they finally pulled apart, Wine pressed her forehead in his kiss. Her smile reluctant but real. "Promise me one thing," she whispered. "Anything." "No monsters tonight," he chuckled, kissing her again. "Deal, silent mode only." She laughed, swatting at him playfully, but her heart was light. Yes, the day had been humiliating. Yes, Jungkook was insufferable, and yes, their son would probably embarrass them again tomorrow. But as she curled against Jungkook later that night, she realized maybe he was right. One day, these were the stories they would laugh about, and secretly, a very small part of her already was. The next morning dawned bright and deceptively peaceful. Sunlight streamed into the kitchen as Wine flipped each lace into a plate, humming softly. Jungkook was scrolling through his phone at the table, sipping his coffee, looking entirely too smug for someone who had barely let her sleep last night. Not for the reasons Ryan assumed, but because every time she had rolled over, he whispered some new joke about silent workouts. Ryan bounded into the kitchen in his superhero pajamas, hair sticking up like a bird's nest. He climbed onto his chair and began spooning the soup onto his plate with great concentration. For a blessed few moments, breakfast passed in peace. No embarrassing questions, no limitation of funny noises, no neighbors or relatives dropping by. Wine dared to believe the storm had passed, and then Rian looked up, serious as a judge. "Mummy, Daddy," he said, setting down his spoon. "I have been thinking." Both parents froze. "That's never good," he muttered, earning a soft kick under the table from Wine. "What have you been thinking about, sweetheart?" she asked carefully, Rian's little brow furrowed. "About the exercise." Wine nearly dropped her cup. Jungkook smoked into his coffee. "Why is this kid never forgetting about this?" "Oh God," Rian continued. "If it's really exercise, why don't you just do it in the morning like me? I do stretches in school. Why do you have to do it at night when everyone's supposed to be asleep?" Wine's heart thumped wildly. Jungkook leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying her discomfort. "That's a good question," she said, her voice tight. "You see, some exercises are best done at night." Rian frowned. "Why?" "Because," she faltered, her eyes darting to Jungkook for help. He grinned, setting down his cup. "Because it helps Mummy and Daddy sleep better, like your bedtime story helps you." Rian considered this, nodding slowly. Okay, but why was Mummy making noises like she was hurt?" "Why does his kid have so many questions to ask?" "Oh no." Wine groaned inwardly, covering her face with her hand. Jungkook's lips twitched, his shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. "Mummy wasn't hurt," he said gently. "She was just stretching really hard." Rian's eyes lit up. "Oh, like when I tried to touch my toes and it hurts a little bit, but it's good for me." "Exactly," Jungkook said, relief washing over his face. "That's exactly it." Wine peeked out from behind her hand, glaring at him. "Stretching?" She mouthed silently. He winked at her, looking far too pleased with himself. Ryan nodded, satisfied. Okay, but next time can you please do it more quietly? Because I don't want to hear monsters again. We will try our best, sweetheart. Wine sighed with relief, patting his head. Jungkook leaned across the table, his voice low and teasing. Silent mode, remember? She kicked him under the table again. The rest of the day passed more smoothly. Ryan seemed satisfied with the thought-touching explanation and busied himself with cartoons and crayons. Still, Wine caught Jungkook smirking at her every chance he got, as if daring her to admit the whole situation was funny. Every evening, but they were curled on the sofa together after putting Ryan to bed. The living room was dim except for the soft glow of the lamp. Jungkook stretched his arm across his back, his fingers brushing her shoulder. You have to admit, he said quietly, he's sharp for his age. Nearly had us cornered. Wine groaned, covering her face with her hands. I have never been so embarrassed in my life. He chuckled, pulling her hand down gently. Come on, it wasn't that bad. At least he didn't draw us another masterpiece today. She smacked his chest, but she was smiling now. Don't remind me. He caught her hand, holding it against his heart. You know, someday we will tell him the truth when he is much older, and then we will laugh about how little he knew back then. Wine's cheeks warmed. If we survive until then, he grinned, leaning closer. Oh, we will, with plenty of nightly workouts to keep us strong. Her face flamed. Jungkook. But her laughter bubbled out despite herself. And when his lips found hers in a soft, lingering kiss, she stopped protesting altogether. That night, the house was hushed again. Wine sat on the edge of Ryan's bed, smoothing the blanket over him, while Jungkook leaned casually against the doorway, his usual smirk firmly in place. The day had gone well enough. No neighbors had stormed in, no relatives had called with awkward questions, and Ryan had slept the afternoon happily, building a Lego fortress taller than his toy cupboard. Wine had almost allowed herself to think the whole thing passed away. But just as she leaned down to kiss her son goodnight, Ryan's little voice piped up, full of stubborn curiosity. Mummy, he said softly, there is still something I don't understand. Wine froze, lips inches from his forehead. Slowly she sat back up. At this point, to be honest, she is tired of these questions officially. What is it, sweetheart? The exercise, he said, eyes wide and serious in the dim glow of his nightlight. Why do only married people do it? Because Nasha's parents don't exercise at night. She said her room is always quiet. Wine blinked, her heart doing somersault. Nasha's parents, of course, leave it to the kindergarten gossip to make things worse. Jungkook chuckled under his breath, clearly enjoying her discomfort. Wine shot him a warning glare. Don't you dare. Turning back to her son, she mustered her calmest voice. Well, sweetheart, you know how you and your best friend have special games that only the two of you play, like your little secret handshake? Ryan's eyes lit up. Yeah? Well, she continued carefully. Mummy and Daddy also have a special exercise. It's just for us because we are married. Other people have their own special things. Does that make sense? Ryan tilted his head, thinking hard. So, it's it like a secret game for big people? Yes, she said quickly, relief flooding her chest. Exactly that. From the doorway, Jungkook's deep voice added, a fun game? Wine whipped her head around, glaring daggers. Jungkook, Ryan oblivious nodded. Okay, but why was Mummy making funny noises? Was it because she was lost in the game? Jungkook bit his knuckle to keep from laughing. Wine's face turned crimson. Jungkook said smoothly. She wasn't losing before Wine could speak. She was just very focused. Sometimes, when you're working hard at something, you make noises without realizing it, right? Like when you're coloring really carefully or when you're running fast. Ryan considered this, then nodded. Okay, so Mummy was just trying really hard. Exactly, he said with a grin. Wine groaned into her hands. Her husband was impossible and infuriatingly good at spinning explanations. All right, sweetheart, she said firmly, lowering her hands and leaning to kiss Ryan's forehead. No more questions tonight. Time to sleep. We will read a story tomorrow. Okay, Ryan said sleepily, clutching a stuffed elephant. Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Charm, he said warmly. The moment the door clicked shut behind them, Vine turned on Jungkook in the hallway, whisper hursing. A secret game? Really? That's what you came up with? He grinned unrepentantly. Hey, it worked, didn't it? Her face burned. You were enjoying that way too much. I enjoy everything with you, he whispered mischievously, leaning down so his lips brushed her ear. Especially our secret game. She showed his chest, half exasperated, half flustered. You are not gonna stop it, aren't you? He caught her hand before she could pull them away, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. Nope, not for a lifetime. You like it too, I know. Her heart softened in spite of herself. Maybe or maybe not. Definitely, he murmured, his thumb brushing her hand, and later, when our little detective is fast asleep, maybe we should prove it again tonight. Her cheeks flamed again, but this time she didn't argue. Instead, she whispered, Silent mode, Jungkook, or else. He chuckled, leaning in to steal a quick kiss before they tiptoed down the hallway together, laughter barely contained between them. The house was hushed. Ryan's soft breathing drifted from his room, the night light casting a faint glow under the straw. Vine tiptoed into the living room, letting herself sink onto the sofa with a deep sigh. Finally, peace. Jungkook followed, carrying 2 glasses of warm tea like a waiter who knew his customer would refuse. He set one on the coffee table, plopped down beside her, and handed her the other. No coffee? She teased, wrapping her hands around the glass. He shrugged. Tea is safer. We need strong bonds for all this exercise. She groaned, dropping her head against the back of the sofa. Don't you dare start again. He smirked, sipping his drink. Come on, admit it. The whole thing is hilarious. Hilarious? She turned to glare at him. Our son thinks we are battling monsters every night. My mother now imagines us doing yoga in bed, and Miss Kim probably told the entire colony I'm training for the Olympics. Jungkook chuckled, eyes twinkling. And yet, here you are, still blushing like a newlywed. You can't deny it's kind of fun. She pressed her lips together, fighting a smile. You are insufferable. And you're gorgeous when you're flustered, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek. Her heart skipped. She tried to mask it with sarcasm. Smooth, very smooth. Do you practice these lines in the mirror? Only when I'm waiting for you to forgive me, he said with mock sincerity. She laughed despite herself, curling closer to him on the sofa. His arms slipped around her shoulders naturally, and for a moment they sat in comfortable silence, sipping their tea. Then Jungkook leaned down, whispering in her ear, You know, tonight we really should exercise today for tradition's sake. Wine chalked on her drink, smacking his chest. You'd have a death wish, don't you? He laughed, catching her hand before she could pull it away. Silent mode, remember? We are professionals now. Her chest warmed. She hated how easily he could dissolve her irritation, turning her embarrassment into laughter, her annoyance into tenderness. You know, she admitted quietly. For a second today, I thought maybe we should actually tell him the truth. Not everything, of course, but someday when he's older. Jungkook nodded. We will, and when that day comes, he will roll his eyes and tell us he never wanted to know. She chuckled, imagining it. Probably. They sat there, the silence stretching comfortable and warm around them. Jungkook's thumb traced lacy circles on her shoulders, his presence grounding and familiar. You are my favorite partner, he said suddenly. In exercise, she teased. In everything, he replied without hesitation. Her throat tightened. She turned her face toward him, meeting his gaze. There was no teasing in his eyes now, no, just quiet affection. Me too, she whispered. Their lips met, slow and sweet, a kiss that was less about heat and more about love, though there was heat simmering just beneath the tenderness. When they finally pulled apart, she leaned her forehead against his, smiling. Promise me we will keep it down tonight too. No monsters, no toe touch noises. He laughed softly. I promise, Scout's honor. Good, she said firmly, though her cheeks were flushed, because if Rian draws another picture, I'm moving back to my parents' house. He grinned, pulling her closer until she was nestled against her chest. Deal, but you will miss me too much. She rolled her eyes, but her betrayed her.